elections for Tuesday, November 1st. And I'm going to run through the consent agenda real quick. So we have item number 1 is on consent. Item number 2 is on consent. I have a letter for 2. We do not have Sharon Hurt in here, but we'll just keep it on consent for item 3. Item 4, we do not have Syracuse in here. You can keep it on consent. Item 5 is the same. Item 6 is the same. We don't have letters for these. So typically, I require a letter or the sponsor to be present even if they're on consent. So you might want to mention this to our long list of sponsors who are not in here. Item number 7. Yeah, we keep bumping up against them. Item number 7 on consent. Item number 8 is on consent. So that's everything on resolutions is on consent. I'm going to wait. I'm not going to put Berkeley's on consent to be indefinitely deferred because I'd rather her be in here. So that kind of takes us through all of it.
She's here.
Oh, you are. I didn't see it. Sorry. I'm so used to nobody's here. All right. So reading through here, RS 2021-1826 approves the election of certain notary publics for Davidson County. Item number 2, RS 2022-1847 honors the life of Dr. Paul T. Kwame. Item number 3 honors the life and accomplishments of Nashville developer Pat Emery. RS 2022-1849 honors the life of Joe Chambers. RS 2022-1850 honors Rosalind Robinson and AAA Residential Resources Incorporated for the 25 years of service to the people of Nashville and Davidson County. Item number 6 is RS 2022-1851 urges Nashville voters to vote yes on Constitutional Amendment 3 in the upcoming November state and federal elections. Item number 7 is recognizing Nashville Recycles Days. Item number 8, did I say the number on the last one? 1852. RS 2022-1853 recognizes November 2022 as Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month. That is our consent agenda. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. That consent agenda passes. Taking us to bills on second reading, we have BL 2022-1450 by Alan Van Rees. Amends Chapter 2.222 of the Metro Code relative to the expense reimbursement and legal representation in ethical matters before the Board of Ethical Conduct. Council Lady Allen.
Thank you. I would just like to move for an indefinite deferral.
All right. That I will make a motion for indefinite deferral.
Second.
Have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions? That you are indefinitely deferred. Taking us to elections and confirmations. And so with 2 of my favorite Nashvillians, could y'all scoot your chairs up kind of up here to us? I'm sorry. I should move a hot seat up at the beginning of the meeting. So I'm pretty sure that y'all, A, have been here in front of us before, and B, know the questions that I'm going to ask you because you've answered them before and you're on the Charter Revision Committee. Mm-hmm. So, do you reside in Davidson County?
Yes.
Good. Are you a registered voter? I'm a little question. We should have had Dave here pull up and check your voter registration. Yeah, yes. And do you serve on any other boards or commissions for Nashville?
No.
All right. Well, you had to think about that one. So will you tell us a little bit why you want to continue to serve on what is such a fun committee for Metro?
Want me to go first? Sure. Do you have about 30 minutes?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'll start out by saying that this kind of runs in my family blood. My father, Cecil, was on the original 1961 Charter Commission that resulted in Metro government passing in 1962, and then he served over 30 years as chairman of the Charter Revision Commission. And so I'm proud to be a member of the Charter Revision Commission for, I guess, 15 years now, and have been chairman, I guess, for probably 12 or 13 years. I guess it's been.
Do we need a charter amendment saying that your son needs to follow in your footsteps on this too? Like, can we make your family do that?
So I would like to continue to serve. It's something that in all sincerity, it's kind of in my blood. It brings me home. Reminds me of a lot of things growing up about what was going on in Nashville, and feel like that we have a fabulous commission, myself not included, that everybody on it has done just a great job, and just would be happy to expound on any questions you have, but I hope to continue to serve as long as I'm healthy and able to do so.
Thank you. Eileen?
Well, I remember when it was passed, and I was in grade school, but I remember before then, because my father was a policeman, hearing discussions at home. And then finally, Metro was going to be, and my father got the first badge. And,
I didn't know that.
yeah, we even have a picture of
Fun
it.
fact, yeah.
And I think part of this is I'm a history lover, and so this is part of the history of Nashville. And that history has a lot to do with some things that aren't comfortable and other things that are. But bringing the city and the county together took many tries, and it had to be well-written. And yes, there was a political effort, a campaign that finally won this over. But I appreciated it, and then as I was elected onto Metro Council, you really do appreciate the wisdom that's in there. And I also appreciate the fact that it is so special that you don't change it just out of a whim, that you really need to have historical background to understand what these changes may do to people, to entities, and appreciate that and give your recommendations on it.
Thank you. Tanika, questions?
No, I would just like to say, just thank you just for your, not only your service on the council, but the service on this commission too. And you made a very valid point about just having that institutional knowledge on this commission, and realizing that this isn't something that should just be changed.
Willy-nilly?
Yeah. Yes. The body, representation of this body is gonna change, over and over and over again, so this is really an important commission, in my opinion, Madam Chair. That's all I had.
Councilor Hancock?
Yeah, I really appreciate your dedicated service and the fact that you want to continue. About how many times on average do you meet in a year?
It depends. There's some years we don't meet at all. Other times, if there are charter amendments being proposed, or if there are petition drives to get things onto the charter, then we will meet more frequently. So it's kind of, we don't have regularly scheduled meetings. It's kind of on an as-needed basis.
Nice. Well, thank you for your flexibility. I appreciate that.
I too thank you for your service, both of you, and your willingness to continue to serve. The question I have for both of you, since you have served for a period of time, what would you say is the greatest accomplishment of the commission during your service?
It can be a non-accomplishment,
It could
right?
be. It
Can
could
it
be
be
a
a
non-accomplishment
non-accomplishment?
too. I mean, that could go both ways. Yeah.
It may be, I'm just thinking of the most recent past, but I think some of the things that you have brought to us in the past few months, they are significant when it came to some of the HR with the police department and those kind of things. You have to realize that over a period of time, 50, 60 years, that you do need to update things, and it makes a difference in how the government runs, and it made a difference to the individuals that needed some changes in some, for example, the HR section.
And the most recent thing that actually came from the council to us was the amendment that makes it a little more scheduled as to how you can amend the charter.
Yes.
And having a certain vote, number of signatures that it would take, not being dependent on a specific election where you can kind of pick and choose, have a low turnout election and try to run a petition drive through. And I think that was really important. I thank Bob Mendez for a lot of the hard work on sponsoring that. So
Well, thank you all so much.
Councilor Evans?
When you, I guess, think about your time and kind of, since you both have a legacy in Nashville and family history and that kind of thing, I feel like as council members, we're constantly trying to explain things to residents. And so if you were wanting to explain or crystallize something that you would want us to convey to residents about the charter, what's something that stands out?
I would say that it stood the test of time, that what was originally adopted when Metro passed in 1962 and then became effective in 1963, there are many provisions of the charter that haven't changed. It's really served this community well, and I tell people all the time that part of what has made Nashville such a great city was the combining of the two county and city governments, and it's a shame that more places haven't done that. And it's quite a testament to a lot of folks back in the late 50s and early 60s who saw the wisdom of having one government throughout the entire county. I think that's the thing I would most want people to understand, that this is something that has really worked well for many, many years.
I usually talk to people about this is very similar to the U.S. Constitution. You have a basic structure, a skeleton that supports the rest of the body. And so that's why the strength of this is so strong. Our charter needs to be strong, but simple enough that it is clear about who we are, what we want to be.
Thank you. So we, I guess, I don't know how much of a, you want to go ahead? Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
I'll keep it short.
Yeah, no, go ahead. I mean, I was continuing discussing, so go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to say thanks, especially now that there's term limits, we all come and go, and having the wealth of knowledge about the charter over the long haul is such a big deal. I don't think there's probably not 20 people in this county that really understand the charter well, and the Charter Revision Commission has got the highest concentration of them. And I know for me, the council, we're inherently political, and when we've had ideas about things that should change, could change, having you guys as a resource to talk to find out whether it fits in with the structure of it, as a sounding board has been, I think, really valuable. So I thank you for the service, and I'm glad you guys are willing to stick around, because it really is a big deal to the stability of the Metro government.
Well, as you bring up term limits, the direction I was going in is we, of course, have started to hear rumors of what our friends at the state legislature may or may not want to do with us. And so I think having y'all's history and understanding of those items in the charter, such as term limits that could be on the chopping board, I guess my ask, hope, encouragement is, even though it is at call or at the will or at the need to come together, is maybe, do you think that maybe y'all coming together more often leading up into legislative session and maybe starting to do some PSAs or giving council some things that we can churn out to our constituents about the importance of how the charter came about? Do you think that's something that we should be doing just as a public service educational thing?
Certainly worth considering.
Okay, maybe we talk some
I
more
was
about
feeling
that.
pretty good till you started mentioning the state legislature.
Sorry. It is the day after Halloween, so spookiness does come into the council. So we'll chat more on
Any
that.
education on any part is going to be good, because sometimes we know more about our football teams than we do about the different departments or how things interact. So I think
You brought it up.
love it. But I do think there needs to be ongoing education. Period.
Yeah. So thank you both for your service. I'm going to move approval for Miss Eileen Behan for a term expiring on September 4th, 2026, and for. Sorry, I lost yours for a second. And for Mr. Dewey Brandstetter for the same term, September 4th, 2026. So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. We'll see you in the big room.
Thank you.
All right, so short-term rental appeals board, reappointment of Mr. Phil Cabucci. We still are not able to get our social calendars together with Mr. Cabucci, so I'm gonna defer him one more meeting. Yes, yeah, yes. And so so my motion is to defer one meeting. All those in favor? Aye. Any against? Excellent, all right, but Mr. Cabucci has promised me he will be here next time. And I told him if not, we will hunt him down and hold rules committee wherever he is, because he's in California, I think. Field
Let's
trip.
do a rules committee then.
So we're going to interview Community Oversight Board nominees. So I'm going to, should we do these together or separately? Does anybody have opinions?
Doing separately.
Okay, so let's start with Mr. Turner, and if you'll just pull a chair up to the center.
So I'm going to speak on behalf
I'm
of the
sorry.
Community Oversight Board.
I'm sorry, I
Okay.
assumed.
No.
So Mr. Turner nor Ms. Mustafa is available today because they did not know that they were supposed to be here.
Okay.
What I heard from them was that they knew that it was November the 1st, but they never received a confirmation about a time from the clerk's office. I'm assuming is how they thought that process would go. I did not contact them directly because I try not to engage with people who are applying for the board, and so that we don't have any.
Yeah, no, that's understandable.
So,
So are they able to be here at our next meeting?
well, yeah, if we can set the time now, I
So
can
the
make
time
certain.
would be
The time will set the Friday
between,
before.
yeah, the time is typically between 5:15 and 5:30.
Okay.
And it will, when our regular rules committee meets, so that's between 5 and 5:30 typically, and that's the first and second Tuesday, so the next Tuesday is the 15th. So that would be, if we deferred at one meeting, we can defer them 2 meetings if
No,
you think that would
15th I
give us
think
more
would be
time.
fine.
Yeah, you could tell them 5 and then.
Because what needs to
They could
happen
wait
is
if
if we're electing them, if we're, to be fair, I don't want one candidate to make it next time and the other one can't.
Right.
And so I guess maybe as a committee, we need to decide if we don't know if they can both make it next time, or if we should go 2 meetings to give them more time to work out scheduling.
They just didn't-
Thoughts?
I
They didn't
think
know.
it's just
So
a
the
Friday.
verbal
I think they
meeting.
can be here on the 15th. It was
Okay.
just that they didn't get a notification. They didn't get a receipt that, hey, you sent your paperwork in, we received it.
Yeah.
And this is where you need to be at the next time.
Yeah.
So that, there was some kind of process
Yeah.
failure there.
I just don't want, but if you think they both can be here next time, then I'm fine to defer 1 meeting. I just didn't want it to
I'll
be
make
unfair.
the notification to them.
Okay.
There's nothing in the charter that says how quickly we have to vote on a vacancy.
No, because this is a vacancy that got
COB,
bumped, I believe, right?
We got bumped once because we didn't have any nominations.
So we can sit on a vacancy for a year if we want, there's no time limit in the charter? I'm not suggesting you would ever wanna do that.
Yeah,
Just-
I would need to go back
What
and
he's
look and
suggesting is
see
we
what
bring
that
the charter
timeframe
review
was.
point
We
up.
were thinking originally that it was gonna go beyond a
Okay,
certain
more work.
time period before there were nominations, and then we were gonna turn it over to see about turning it over to the vice mayor, the way other nominations are made. But we did get the public nominations here, so I don't think 1 meeting deferral is gonna bump up against anything in the charter.
Okay. I just want to make
I
sure,
can
like,
confirm.
2 weeks' notice was, I know people have things scheduled, so. Okay, well then, I'm gonna make the motion to defer both of these candidates until, the next meeting. And so, Vice Chair, you are in charge of that. I will not be here next meeting, so.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna defer them 1 meeting, and so, like we said, like the Friday before is when committee times come, but you could just tell them this time range. We usually don't start before 5.
About 5:15 on November the 15th. Is that
Yes,
correct?
if that's-
Tuesday, November
Tuesday.
15th? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, 1 meeting. All right,
Thank you.
so, all those in favor of deferring, the election, I guess, Ms. Darby, I'm not necessarily deferring the nominations, I'm deferring the entire election, is that correct?
It will need to be deferred
On the floor, but for,
here you're deferring
I'm just
your
the
approval
approval.
of the review of the candidates.
okay, so I'm gonna move to defer the approval of candidates of Mr. James Turner and Mr. Lydia Yosef. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions? All right, they're deferred, and I'm sorry that I assumed
Thank you.
that you were the last unknown man here, so.
Will you tell me who you mean? Introduce yourself.
James Turner. I'm David Tucker. I'm the ED with the Human Relations
Yeah,
Committee.
because I was like, I know him, so
No, she did.
I knew you looked familiar.
He looks nothing like Jay.
Definitely.
You No, I was
Obviously,
like,
you've never met him, or that would have been a serious insult to me.
I'm glad I'm not here next meeting. All right, so that takes us to our final thing, is our boards and commissions demographic report. I hope everybody read it. I had it sent back out to you guys. I mean, there's not much to read. It's just all the statistics and things. And so I wanted to just kind of have a little bit of discussion on here, and I'll kind of start out. So I think and this may be a question for, I don't think it's legislatively needs to be done, but I think a conversation with the clerk, what might be nice on this report is if we had, since the appointments don't come, like not every committee has an appointment every year, right? Like one of these committees might not have anybody new each year, is that they might note when appointments do come up, so we can know, oh, there's been no change on the Civil Service Commission, there's been no change in demographics in 2021 to 2022. You know, is that because there's been no appointments coming up? Something, I think that would be helpful until we have more years to compare to. But I guess, it seems like most boards stayed the same. Some boards went up in the representation of minorities. But overall, I think until we have more years, it's hard to make a lot of conclusions. Did anybody else have some thoughts?
Yeah, what I didn't love about the report is, to me, it was incomplete because it just gave us the percentage of each category for each committee or commission or board, whereas each committee or commission or board is just a few people, and while we would like every single one of them to completely represent all of Nashville, that would be impossible if you have 4 or 5 people. But if you add all of them together, how many people is that, and what
So
is
like
the
some
breakdown?
totals of all the boards?
Yeah, the total number for each. Yeah,
Oh,
but
oh.
on that spreadsheet, we only have the line items for each individual board without the number of the board. And if we have the number and then we can just tally it, then that could give us a total percentage. And I suggested that to the clerk, and they said that wasn't.
Yeah, are you talking about this?
So, yes, but we need it in the spreadsheet. I know that it's written out here. I'm just a big Excel person, and they just said
Oh.
that wasn't what they.
Oh, I guess
That's not how
I
it's
wasn't looking at it in the.
You weren't looking at the Excel sheet at all?
We didn't get
Because in the
that.
Excel sheet, you didn't get the Excel sheet?
I didn't look at the Excel spreadsheet, I just looked at the,
I just looked at
report.
the Excel sheet. We're all different people.
well, so it sounds like what Tanya would like to see is in the report.
The tallies.
So we just need Tanya to learn, some formulas or to look at the report.
Yeah,
so.
I can totally, now that I know it's in that report, I can
You're good.
add those numbers
Okay.
into the spreadsheet and then distribute it via Rosie to all of you.
Okay, so, I will say that I guess, I don't know if I'm surprised or not. On some of them, there were some that were like unknown, or unavailable, and then looking at, from 2021, and then looking at 2022, I see like a jump, and I'm like, well, that's probably the unknown person is now known. There were a few commissions or committees that I was surprised about vacancies, and I'll just name them off. So the Action Commission, 18 members, 28% vacant. Community Corrections Advisory Board, 10 members, 46% vacant.
And then the Action Commission, aren't those vacancies the vacancies that are required to be filled by parents of that?
I don't know, because this doesn't tell me who's vacant, so I didn't cross-reference.
I'm on the Metro Action Commission, and those are the ones that have the most challenging time recruiting.
Recruiting those parents.
Yeah, because they're, they have chock-full lives as well.
Yes.
And so it's a big commitment, but they're
And so maybe that's
constantly
something,
looking.
when we have them in front of us, it's maybe something we should discuss. So Community Corrections, though, 46% vacant. It would be interesting to see who they are. The Employee Benefit Board was only 10% vacant, so that's one person not appointed or elected to it. Let's see. Oh, interesting that and maybe this is because of the new board. I don't know how this was calculated on the Procurement Standard Board, but 29% vacant. So I think these are some questions that I'll ask the clerk to clarify. Yeah, Sexually Oriented Business Board, 20% vacant.
The sexually oriented one.
20% vacant. Tanika, would you like to serve or have someone?
How many is 20%? Is that one person?
5 members, so.
Yes.
Yeah. Now again, yeah, most of these are like just one, but I mean, overall, I didn't see anything that stood out as, overwhelming or whatever, because it is just very basic information, so I think if there are other things that should be included in here, think about those. Any other thoughts from anybody on it? Okay. All right. Well, so we did have a meeting on what is an emergency, and we need to follow up on that. So if y'all will please email council staff, I guess either Margaret or Hannah, your thoughts on what an emergency is prior to the next meeting.
Contact,
And
was that from our,
what's an emergency for legislation, for rule suspensions. We didn't have anybody come before us tonight about rule suspensions, but we heard on the floor at the last meeting that there were two sponsors that committed to potentially making rule suspensions tonight, but no one was here before us today, so I guess we'll handle that on the fly if that happens. So if you'll think about that, and then I'm gonna try to circulate some dates for another meeting on what is an emergency. There was something else that came up that might be tacked on, and that was it. So when I remember that other thing, I'll let you know, and I'll circulate dates. Anybody have anything else? Excellent. We're good to go. Thank you.
Thanks.
I was super excited that you mentioned the state. Those are the questions I wanted to ask, but I didn't want Bob to be like.